Hello everyone, how are you? I'm Victor Augusto and I'm watching Ever Metal. Today I had the pleasure to interview one of the most legendary death metal band from Brazil, a band called Krisiun. Krisiun started their career in Brazil on the early 90s and they moved from their city Ijuí to São Paulo to stay around in a very heavy metal scenario, similar to what Sepultura done back in the 80s. And after many album releases and long tours all around the world, the band became very respected, even being mentioned by the gods of death metal like Morbid Angel and many other great bands, mentioning Krisiun as the great name from death metal. For me, they are a great example of what every band should do because they focus 100% on the band. They decided to live by the band, to live for the band, and the result is how great they become all around the world. Not only in Brazil, but in every part of the world, people really admire what Krisiun is doing. And the result is how famous and respected they became all around the world. So far, the band releasing the albums Black Force Domain, Apocalyptic Revelation, Conquerors of Armageddon, Ageless Venomous, Works of Carnage, Bloodshed, Assassination, Southern Storm, The Great Execution, Forged in Fury, Scourge of the Enthroned, and now they releasing the new album Mortem Solis by Century Media. For me, it's the most mature album from the band because it carries a perfect blend from all aggressiveness and brutality they also played, together with that groove and cadenced parts that the band has been playing since the Assassination album. The album produces sounds very natural and very organic as always. And today I had the pleasure to interview Alex Camargo, which is the vocalist and bassist from the band. We talked about Mortem Solis and of course we talked about the early days of the band, and I hope you enjoyed this interview. John, Alex, how are you, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Enjoy this Friday afternoon.
All right. So good.
First of all, congratulations for your new album, Mortem Solis, which is released today. I don't know when the people will see this interview, but we are recording it on this Friday, July 29th. And congratulations. But before you talk about the new album, I have a few questions from your early career since the beginning of Krisiun. And my first question is talking about your early days back on the 90s. You always looked to put a lot of effort and dedication for Krisiun. You even moved from your city, Ijuí, to São Paulo to stay around a very heavy metal scenario, and it was similar to what Sepultura did on the 80s. I want to know when was the time that you and your brothers changed your mind to focus 100% on Krisiun, to live for the band, to live by the band, and how was your family reaction when you decided?
Well, it's a long time ago. Like you mentioned, Sepultura. I think Sepultura was like our main influence, not only music-wise, but everything the guys were like chasing back then. They were a big inspiration for us. Back then, we're just a bunch of crazy kids trying to play some brutal music. But then we found out there would be like a chance to leave out the music. Ever since we start playing, we're hooked. We're in love with this kind of music, and we found out that it could be a chance. To keep moving further and develop as musicians, record albums, and and become a solid professional band. Talking about like hard days, difficult days. If you think about like especially talk about Brazil. Brazil is everything is just harder here. Especially if you're trying to make things happen as far as being in a band. But yeah, we're I mean, like back then when you're young, you don't have much concerns about life itself. I mean, we're just a bunch of crazy kids trying to play some brutal music, and we kept playing. We kept like recording demos, and we started traveling around like different cities. And like I said, our Sepultura was a big inspiration. We saw those guys breaking a lot of barriers. I mean, uh, they're getting their stuff released overseas and start traveling around the world. So they were like a big inspiration for us as far as becoming a professional band, and especially an international band. Um, those are like hard days. I mean, you didn't have much money to afford good instruments. The gigs were kind of I mean, pretty difficult. I mean, the equipment were like just bad equipment. I don't think we would have sound um, uh, the way we should. I mean, it was just everything was just rough, but we stick around. I mean, we found out we were in love with the music. We kept uh, pushing forward. I mean, we decided we wanted to do this. We wanted to keep moving further, and then after a couple of years, we hooked up with a local record label. We put out like a couple of EPs, and then we kept moving. We kept moving. We started moving around the country. I mean, playing different states and getting our stuff promoted. What I mean, and the audience were like just growing. I mean, we were like playing different places, and the kids were showing up to support us and enjoying the music. It was a natural process. I mean, we just kept moving and moving, and back then it was just um, the music itself was like a pretty raw. I mean, we're discovering a lot of things, and it took a lot of hard work, a lot of a dedication. Like I said, we decided that was what we wanted. I mean, we found out we're we're in love with the music. We're in love with this kind of music, and even though those were like hard days, I mean, difficult days. Um, when you're young, we don't really care about it. We just kept moving and moving, and then we scored the first record deal. We got our first album out. Um, After a couple of years, our stuff was like getting distributed overseas, in Europe or North America, and we kept moving, man. Like, I mean, first album, couple of local tours. Then the second album came. We had the chance to travel overseas. I mean, we had our first couple of tours in Europe around the late 90s, around 98, 97, 98. Then we had the chance to go over the United States, and we just kept moving, man. It was, even though it was like hard days, we were loving the music. We had a lot of fun talking about good times, good memories. Even though things were just sometimes difficult, we never gave up. We kept moving and moving, and we're here. The rest is history.
Oh yeah, even the hard days makes us very strong to put a lot of value or about everything that we conquered. And the next question is exactly about it. We know how hard it is to survive as an extreme heavy metal band, especially in Brazil back in the 90s. And I want to know how was the most challenging difficult that you faced at the time back in the 90s?
Yeah, I think it was like a, I would say like a line that separates. I mean, what you want to do in life or not. We found out the if you want to do this, it's you got to believe 100% on what you're doing. You know, I mean, um, back then we didn't have any support, or I mean, we had friends, you know, I mean, but as far as money or or a record label, a solid record label, we didn't have any. But we were like we're determined. We're determined to keep moving because we're in love with the music. And like I said, when you're young, you're strong. You know, I mean, you're determined. You're dedicated, and I think the motivation is the reason, the main thing that keeps uh, you know, I mean, making you move, you know, I mean, keep moving further and further, even though times were harder. Um, we were in love with the music, and we decided that that what was we wanted, you know, I mean, um, it was just hard sometimes, you know, I mean, uh, we had to always like find out a way to make money uh, and put the money on the band because. We trusted each other. We trusted the band. Was like a lot of a lot of crazy things happening back then, but we never gave up. You know, I mean, sometimes things don't work the way you want it, but we were determined to keep moving. You know, I mean, things were hard, things were like difficult, but we never gave up.
Yeah, it's amazing. Did you have the support from your family when you decided to move from Ijuí to São Paulo and then move to start to do a long tours on Europe and US? How was the support from your family at that time?
It was good. I mean, if we're talking about the early days, you know, I mean, nobody trusted us. You know, I mean, my father would help us, was driving us around to play local gigs, but we're not from a rich family. You know, I mean, we're just standard. You know, I mean, mid class family. So our parents didn't have much money to help us with the band, you know what I mean? So we had to find out a way ourselves to make money, you know what I mean? And we had like side jobs, and we're making money outside the band and putting on the band. But as far as uh, financial support, we didn't have much, you know what I mean? My father was helpful, you know what I mean? He trusted us and he helped us the way he could. But at some point, you know what I mean, when we decided to go further and record demos and travel around, we had to find a way ourselves, you know what I mean? Our father helped us, but we're not from a rich family, you know what I mean? It was just a standard mid class. So he trusted us. My mom trusted us. I think uh, they supported us like uh, uh, in a way, you know what I mean, but not financially, you know what I mean, like a little bit. We have to find out our way ourselves to make money, have like side jobs and put it in the band because our family wasn't a rich family.
Yeah, as I can imagine, we do it by love because it's a hard path to walk.
Got it, man.
But
Yeah, you're in love with what we do. If you love what you do, if you believe 100% what you're doing, you got to move further and make things happen.
yes, of course. Good, but now talking about the music side of Krisiun, you are very famous by how fast and brutal you always played, especially on the live concert, because at live concert you really can see that you play exactly what you have recorded in studios. And
Thank you.
nowadays, you're welcome. And nowadays we see many gods of death metal mentioning Crisium as a great reference for death metal, and I want to know if you have talked about what you made for death metal and how you became this reference for death metal.
Well, it's I think uh, having our name mentioned by these guys, like from, I don't know, let's say the Morbid Angel or Nile or all those great bands, Immolation. We became friends of these bands, and I could say this is like a huge accomplishment for us. You know, I mean, having our name mentioned by these guys is just like a, a huge accomplishment. You know, I mean, it's such a great deal for us. It's nothing but motivation to keep us moving further. Um, we don't really think about it like how important we are, or how important it used to be, or how important it's gonna be, or we just keep moving and working hard. We work hard. We dedicate ourselves to to this music like 100%. Uh, we love what we do, so we don't really think about it. Oh, we're we're such an important band. We're such a, everything we do is just um so important for the scene or anything like that. We keep moving further. We just try to develop more and more. Uh, we try to play as hard as we can. Of course, it demands a lot of hard work. It demands a lot of a passion and dedication. We we know we had to work hard to get things moving and to sound as relevant as possible. You know, I mean, it takes a lot of hard work, it takes a lot of dedication, um, and that is something that we've been doing it for sure. Um, we found out like our main motivation is like within the band. You know, I mean, like the other guys are like my main motivation. Sometimes I feel lazy or I feel miserable. I don't want to do this or that, and then I got the other guys out there, like, you know, I mean, dedicating themselves. So it's my main motivation. You know, I mean, we were like we push ourselves. You know, I mean, to keep moving further. You know, I mean, and of course, like I said, like when I first heard, like for example, Trey from Morbid Angel talking about us and how much he liked the band, was like a such a prize for us. You know, I mean, such a big
Yeah,
deal, and it's
I can
definitely,
imagine.
yeah. It helps. It helps a lot to keep us like believing in what we do. You know, I mean, it's definitely a big deal. Definitely a big deal when you hear those guys from Morbid Angel, Nile, Immolation. When you first start touring with them guys, was like a big deal for us. So it's definitely, we feel like that's definitely a great accomplishment for us.
Yes, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I have an impression about, especially when we are talking about the Brazilian heavy metal scene. For example, during the 90s, I saw many thrash metal bands appearing, also power metal bands, mainly influenced by what Sepultura and Cause done for thrash metal. On power metal, we had great names like Angra and Shaman. And later, after the year of 2000, Krisiun became very famous all around the world. And for me, the result was the same because I saw many incredible death metal bands appearing after that, influenced by Krisiun, of course. And you kind of answered it, but have you ever reflected of how important you are, especially for the Brazilian death metal scene?
Cool, man. Yeah, like I said, Brazil always had uh, this thing with the bands, or if you think about all the bands that came out from Brazil, it's just it's a strong scene. You know, I mean, talking about either heavy metal or thrash metal, power metal. There's great bands all across the country. You know, what I mean, uh, and yeah, it just feels great. It's a great feeling when we found out we became like such of a reference for local bands. Uh, it kind of like I said, it's also a accomplishment. You know, I mean, we feel like it pays off when you're dedicating yourself to this kind of music. When you go out on tour and we keep pushing things forward, and next thing you know, you becoming an influence for younger bands. Uh, it's just a great feeling, man. When I hear like younger bands telling us we became an influence for them. Uh, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling. It's definitely a big deal for us as well when we hear from the younger bands we became an influence for them.
We have to say thanks as well because it's very proud to have great names coming from Brazil influence and making this scene even huge than it already is. So thanks a lot.
All right, man. Thank you.
Now talking about the new release, Mortem Solis, which is a Latin name for the death of the sun, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
And for what I could hear so far, for me, it's my impression. For me, it's the most mature album for the band because I could see the perfect blend among that fast spirit, the fast song of Krisiun, together with all of that groovy and cadenced parts that you are playing since Assassination album from 2006, for example. But you also spent more time to release this album. Of course, we had that pandemic situation that we all suffered for 2 years. And my question is, do you think that these 2 years without touring, without concerts, helped you to focus more on this new release, Morten Solis?
definitely did. It definitely did. Um, it wasn't just I mean, we had to stuck through to hard days. I mean, and um, we saw like a bunch of bad things happening to close people. I mean, to friends and some relatives. I mean, we saw people losing perspectives, losing their jobs. Some people that we knew died. I mean, and so it was like a dark days, dark times. I mean, and it was just um, how could I express myself? It was hard to deal with that, and we tried to somehow take advantage about it. I mean, like and try to produce such of uh, uh, strong album. I mean, because we all suffered. I think everybody suffered because of it. So we took some time to to think about it and try to build it up like a very brutal record, a relevant record. I mean, and this whole thing definitely has a reflex on the songwriting for sure. Like I said, we seen bad things happening, uh, and it also reflects on the title of the album. Death of the Sun is like uh, the death of light, the end of all resources. I mean, was not only the pandemic, but we had this war going, and mankind were like miserable. I mean, like people were getting miserable to each other, and people were like losing their perspectives. We're not like trying to preach the end of the world or sound negative or anything like that. It was just trying to bring it up or reflects of what happened. I mean, like the music's brutal, so we try to bring it up a message. I mean, like a brutal message, like that really blends with the music. But yeah, definitely this couple of bad years that definitely has a reflex and a big influence on the music.
Yes, it's an amazing album, and I can't wait to see the reaction of the fans because it's being released today, this Friday. I hope people
Oh
enjoy
man,
it as
thank
as
you so
much as
much.
I've enjoyed.
Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
I received it for review, but I'm too lazy to review because I always want to hear many times to try to go deep into details. But I think for the next 2 weeks, the review will be released at Heavy
Awesome,
Metal.
man. Yeah, I do the same. I try to, if I go, write about something, you got to make sure about it, what you write. You got to listen for a few times, not just one time, and then write about it. I agree with you.
Okay, and still talking about this new release, Krisiun always like to surprise us with elements that sometimes it's a bit different from the traditional death metal. For example, on Ageless Venomous, you released the song Diableros, which is a acoustic song very fast, and you also recorded, for example, Sweet Revenge, which is a Motorhead cover on Assassination. For this new album, we have the Necronomical, which carries this kind of Motorhead spirit, of course, played by a death metal band, and also Dawson Carnage intro. I could hear a few elements from Middle Eastern or Oriental things. For example, how free do you feel to explore these elements that sometimes is not that pattern of the traditional heavy metal?
Yeah, man. It's a good question. I'm glad you noticed. Um, yeah, man. When we first started, like listening to music, we started to, with like early rock and roll bands, early heavy metal bands, such as AC/DC, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden. Then there was Morbid Angel, Slayer. So it was like a process of evolution, and then if you want to sound relevant, if you want to build it up your own trademark, I think you should have find out a way to to do different things. Not just the standard. Sometimes the bands are too standard. They just follow like a certain formula. I mean, you got to have a formula. You got to have a way to get things done. But I think if you want to build it up like your own identity, you gotta, explore a few different things and put it on your music, not just the standards. Like, oh, we're influenced by Morbid Angel and Slayer, and they'll just follow up, what they already done. If you want to build it up an identity, you got to find out a way to be original. I mean, not like we're like pioneers or not that we're like discovering like a new formula or anything. We're just trying to to build it up our own thing. Build it up our own identity. And like I said, we started up with those early metal bands such as Motorhead, and then becoming a brutal band, becoming a death metal band, it was just natural for us. When we first started jamming, we wanted to go brutal and fast, especially Max, the drummer. He's like trying to go faster and play double kicks, and it was a natural process. We're not started up as a standard death metal. Oh, just gonna be a death metal band and we're gonna sound like Morbid Angel or this side. I mean, those bands were a big influence on us, but we wanted to build it up our own identity. And I think listening to those early metal bands, it helped us. It helped us, and also like different styles of music too. You mentioned the Dawson Sun Carnage. It was like more like an epic uh, kind of music. So all these different types of music, like such a classical music or jazz or blues or anything that is good that makes us feel good is it would help. We somehow we put it up in our music and try to build up our own thing.
Yes, and it's good to sound different because nowadays I receive many death metal bands, and sometimes it's kind of hear the same thing, like everything was done in a computer. It's like a plastic song, a plastic music. It's hard to still hear bands recording, producing albums with an organic kind of production. It's very interesting. And even in the song that I mentioned, Necronomical, it's funny because it's a slow kind of song, but Max put a very strong drum fills in the middle, and you are not expecting that. For me, it's good to bring the attention of the listeners.
Awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that. It's definitely what we've been trying to do. You know, I mean, definitely. Like you said, most of the bands they sound like sometimes square. You know, I mean, because they follow they just follow the standards. You know, I mean, and even sometimes the bands they manipulated the music, especially these days. You can edit a lot of things, and you can sound as fast as you wish. You know, I mean, you just have to speed it up on a computer. You know, I mean, and some of these bands they sound artificial. You know, I mean, anything we do, we build it up on a practicing room. You know, I mean, we get together in the practicing room, and then we build it up to songs like in the old style, in the old school days. You know, I mean, we build it up like us three. You know, I mean, no computers, no auditions, no nothing. We never work like you know, let's say the guitar player they got a riff and sent us through the computer, but then we put a drum machine on it. We never work like that. We work as a band. We got together on the practicing room, and we built up the songs naturally.
Yes, it's amazing. As a result, we have many passionate fans for Krisiun.
Yeah, man.
And this touring about this new album, you are preparing a tour with Crypta and together with Nervo Chaos. If I'm not wrong, you will tour in Mexico, and then you are coming to South America together with Belfagor. Am I correct?
Yeah. We done it. We done it the South American part with Belfagor, Crypta, and Nervo Chaos. Was a great tour. Was such a great tour. The turnouts were great. Some of the shows were like sold out, and most of the shows were pretty packed. Actually, all the shows were packed. It was a great surprise for us. We were not expecting such a, you know, I mean, solid crowds to show up. And then we're still missing the Mexican shows. I think they're gonna reschedule like for late this year, if I'm not wrong. But like the South American part is already done. It was great. We felt great. Like I said, the attendance were pretty good, pretty solid. And yeah, we done it. And then we're missing the Mexican shows, which I think is going to be rescheduled for late this year.
For sure, it will be as amazing as the South American tour.
Yeah.
Okay, Alex, too, we are coming to the end of this interview. Now I have, I'm curious to know about your career. Two things about your career. The first thing is, how was the moment that you felt that the band reached a stable and solid career? And the second question is, how was the best moments you lived with the band?
Well, it's hard to say, man. It takes some time. It took some time for us to actually we're never really sure about it. You know, I mean, it's always hard to find out such of a point where we feel like we're established. We're like we can't complain. You know, I mean, actually, I'm grateful to everybody involved in, you know, I mean, the audience, the people like you supporting us. But I would say like around early 2000, 2001, 2002, when we first started to touring like constantly over North America, Europe, back and forth. Like after the Conquerors of Armageddon album, especially, we're like, yeah, we're here. We made it. You know, I mean, we're going back and forth. We start to deal with such of a cycle. You know, I mean, which was like record albums and go out on tour, then going back to the studio, another album, another tour. So I would say, yeah, early 2000 was like, you know, I mean, we were reaching a certain point where we're like, you know, I mean, starting to deal with this crazy schedule, you know, I mean, about like recording, uh, going out on tour, going back to the studio. Yeah, I would say after the Conquerors of Armageddon album, we're more like we reached certain level that which were like, you know, I mean, going back and forth and recording. And as for the second question you asked about the
The second question is, how was the best moment that you lived with the band? I don't know, like for example, when you mentioned that the guitarist from Of the Angel told about Chris or something like that. How was the best
okay,
thing that you lived with the band?
okay, there was a couple of great moments. It's hard to point one, but I would say Trey for Morbid Angel was just a great inspiration for us. He's always be supportive. I remember one time we're playing in Florida and he showed up with with a piece of paper with he wrote a few things with his own blood. He slashed his arm
Amazing.
and he took his own blood and wrote a few things like Moses kept the paper. He was like I don't really recall the words, but it was just a few crazy words, you know what I mean? And he was standing right in the front of the stage with this paper, like written blood with his own blood. So it was just crazy. It was madness. I could say that one. And then when we opened for Black Sabbath in our hometown, Porto Alegre, we had a chance to open for Black Sabbath like back in 2016, I think. And the place where we play, were close to the hospital where we born, us three born, like in this place in Porto Alegre, in this hospital. And it's like not far from there. It was like this huge venue where we could do open for Black Sabbath. And that was just off the hook. It was just crazy, you know. I mean, we were open for Black Sabbath on the same neighborhood where we born. So it was definitely a big deal.
As I can imagine, Bill Ward also mentioned Max as a great
Yeah,
drummer as well.
that one was actually I think I was biggest prize. You know, it was like winning a Grammy or something. Definitely was. Thanks for remembering.
You're welcome.
When we found out Bill Ward mentioned one of our albums as one of his favorites, was like such a big deal, man. It was such of an honor. We've been listening to Black Sabbath like since we're kids. I think Bill Ward is just maybe the greatest heavy metal drummer ever. And
Yes, of course.
when we found out he mentioned one of our albums, it was just we went crazy. I remember the day we found out. We got like shit faced. We drank a lot of booze that day because we couldn't believe it. You know, I couldn't believe that Bill Ward mentioned one of our albums as one of his favorites. It was just was great. It was a big deal for us, definitely.
Yes, and for us in Brazil, it's such an honor to see another band doing the same path as Sepultura. I discovered Krisiun, I guess it was in 2003, and I bought this album here. I don't know if you can see
All
these
right, man. I
vinyls.
see the Angel of Venom. Yeah. Thanks, man.
Well,
Thank you so much.
it's a pleasure. And thanks a lot for your time, brother. Please let your final words, the plans for about touring, and if you want to talk more about the new record. the space is all yours.
Oh man, thanks to you, Victor, for the interview, for the cool questions. Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody out there, like who's been supporting us and buying our records, and just wanna let them know we put a lot of dedication, a lot of hard work on this latest album. I would say if you're into death metal, you should check it out. It's a strong record. Like I said, we put a lot of hard work on this, and hopefully people dig it. Hopefully people will show up at the shows. And yeah, thanks a lot to everyone out there who's been supporting us, and thanks for watching this. And thanks to you, Victor. Thanks a lot, man.
It's a pleasure, man. Every time you want to have Ever Metal, just contact us. The space is all yours here. Thanks a lot, bro. See you next time.
Was great talking to you. Hopefully, meet up at some of the shows, and let me know if you're coming out. I'll put your name on the guest list. We share a beer, brother.
Thanks a lot for sure. I will stay in touch.
Alex Camargo from Krisiun. I hope you all have enjoyed this interview. If you got interested to hear more about Krisiun, please follow them on all social medias, buy the merchandise. And if you enjoyed this interview, if you could give us a like and also subscribe our channel. And I'll see you on the next interview. Bye bye.